Emily hesitated outside the cafe door, staring at her reflection in the glass before entering. She didn't look nervous on the outside, but inside her stomach churned. Her best friend Mia had talked her into this blind date, insisting she'd been alone for too long, that life had given her enough sadness and it was time to give love another chance. But what Mia didn't understand was that Emily wasn't afraid of rejection. She was afraid of feeling again, afraid of opening up only to lose something all over again. Her fiancé, Michael, had been everything to her until the car accident took him away 2 years ago. Since then, the world had felt like a room she walked through without touching anything. She survived, she functioned, she even smiled, but she hadn't really lived. Dating felt like trying to pretend she was whole when she knew she wasn't. Still, she pushed the door open and stepped inside. The warm scent of roasted coffee beans, cinnamon pastries, and quiet chatter instantly wrapped around her. She scanned the room, looking for the man whose picture she had only seen once, Daniel. She expected someone already waving at her overly confidently, maybe a joke ready, maybe a cheesy line she'd have to politely respond to. But instead, she saw a man sitting quietly near the back window, posture straight, hands folded on the table, eyes distant, as if he was waiting but not really expecting anything. And then she noticed someone she hadn't expected at all. A little girl, maybe 6, sat beside him. Small feet dangling, shoes untied, her hair in 2 soft braids and wearing a pastel dress that looked like it had been chosen by someone who wanted her to look cheerful, even if she didn't quite feel that way. Emily blinked, convinced she was mistaken. Her friend had definitely not mentioned a child. Daniel stood up slowly when he spotted her. He looked exactly like the photo. Kind eyes, strong jaw, but quieter than she imagined. Emily, he asked gently. Yes, she said, forcing a smile. Hi, this is Lily, he added, almost apologetically. I'm sorry. I should have told you. I couldn't get a babysitter today. The little girl looked up at Emily, brown eyes curious yet shy, like she was watching to see if Emily would flinch at her presence. Emily didn't flinch. Instead, she crouched a little and smiled. Hi, Lily. The child gave a tiny nod, barely audible. Emily sat across from Daniel, trying to shake off the surprise. Maybe it wasn't a big deal. Some people had kids. She could handle it. But as minutes passed, she realized something else. This date wasn't just unexpected. It was silent, painfully silent. She tried small talk, asked about his work. He answered politely, but briefly. She asked how long he'd lived in town. Another short answer. She even asked Lily which cartoon she liked the most, hoping to break the wall between them. Lily just looked at her dad first, as if asking permission to speak. Daniel tried, she could tell. He smiled, nodded, even chuckled once, but his words never stretched into real conversation. Every time Emily's question ended, silence arrived like a guest neither of them invited. She had imagined awkwardness, sure. But this felt different, like something heavy lived behind his silence, something he didn't know how to put into words. She tried not to take it personally, but she felt herself folding inward. She thought maybe he wasn't interested. Maybe he thought she wasn't enough, or maybe he was only here because someone forced him to. Maybe he didn't want to be dating either. After 30 minutes of struggling through dry pauses, Emily made the decision quietly in her mind. She wouldn't force this. She wouldn't drag out something that clearly wasn't working. She had come, she had tried, and maybe that was enough for now. She reached into her purse slowly, preparing to make some gentle excuse, end it gracefully, and walk out with her dignity intact. But the moment she started to stand, something happened that froze the world. Lily slid down from her chair, patted around the table in her tiny shoes, and came to stand right in front of Emily. She tugged softly at Emily's sleeve, gaze lifted with the kind of innocence adults forget how to hold. And in a small, trembling voice, she asked, "Are you my new mommy?" Emily's heart stopped beating. Daniel's eyes widened, embarrassment and pain crashing across his face. Lily, no, sweetheart, that's not, he said, reaching for her, voice breaking as if he'd been stabbed. But the child wasn't done. She looked up at Emily with pure longing. You're really pretty. Daddy said we were meeting someone nice today. I thought maybe it was you. Emily's throat tightened, and suddenly the silence of the date wasn't awkward anymore. It was heartbreaking. It was loaded with something she didn't yet understand. She didn't speak immediately. She couldn't. Because the question wasn't childish. It was a wound. One Emily recognized. One she remembered in her own reflection when she used to stare at her empty side of the bed. The date wasn't boring. It was broken. And she suddenly wanted, desperately, to know why. Part 2. Daniel looked like he had forgotten how to breathe. He knelt beside Lily and spoke softly but urgently. Honey, that's not something you ask people. You can't just. He stopped, swallowed hard, eyes filled with a kind of pain Emily didn't recognize at first, but soon understood wasn't embarrassment, it was grief. Emily didn't know whether to respond, to comfort, to pretend she hadn't heard. But the little girl's eyes wouldn't let her look away. They were full of hope, but built on heartbreak, and inside them Emily saw something that shook her, because she remembered being her. Not a child searching for a mother, but a person searching for something solid when life had taken too much. She knelt so she was eye level with Lily. Why do you think I might be your new mommy? She asked softly. Lily fidgeted with the ribbon on her dress. Because Daddy's sad. And I'm sad too. And he told me someone kind was coming today. And you look like someone who gives hugs. Emily didn't know when her eyes filled, but they did. Daniel slowly sat back into his chair, shoulders sinking under years of something he hadn't spoken out loud. Emily, he said quietly, voice trembling around the truth. Lily's mom passed away last year. It was sudden. She doesn't really understand it, not fully. She keeps thinking someone will come and fix the empty space. Emily's breath caught. Not just from sadness, but recognition. A missing piece, a suddenly quiet life, a home that echoed with memories, it was all too familiar. Daniel continued, voice breaking. I shouldn't have come today. I thought maybe I was ready. I thought I could talk, be normal for an hour, but I haven't had a real conversation with anyone who isn't a coworker or my daughter in months. I didn't mean to make things awkward. I'm just out of practice at being a person. Emily didn't move. She didn't rush to fill the silence. She just watched him, really watched him, his tired posture, his careful way of holding himself together, his quiet apology for existing in a life too heavy for one person to carry. And she understood now. He wasn't quiet because he didn't care. He was quiet because speaking meant reopening wounds. Slowly, she reached out and took Lily's hand, small and warm in hers. The child leaned into her without hesitation, as if she had already made up her mind about Emily before anyone else did. Daniel looked horrified at the boldness of his daughter, ready to pull her away, to apologize again, but Emily shook her head gently. It's okay, she whispered. And it was more okay than anything had been in a long time. Lily climbed into her lap, rested her head against Emily's chest, and closed her eyes like someone who finally found stillness. Emily held her instinctively, as if her arms were made for that moment. Daniel swallowed hard. You're incredibly kind, he said, voice breaking. I didn't expect you to stay after that. Emily looked down at Lily, then up at him. You didn't scare me away, she said softly. You just surprised me. And sometimes, surprises are just stories we don't understand yet. For the first time since she walked in, Daniel smiled, a real smile. One that didn't hide in fear. Would you stay a bit longer? He asked. I'd really like to start this over. If you're willing. Emily felt something open in her chest, something she thought had died with Michael. Not love, not certainty, but a door, a beginning. She nodded. I'd like that. They ordered more coffee. Daniel talked, really talked this time. Not loudly, not confidently, but honestly. He told her about Lily's love for fairy tales, about how she now slept with both of her parents' pillows because she missed the smell of her mother. He told Emily how he had stopped cooking because every recipe reminded him of a life that used to be full. And Emily didn't run from the sadness. She shared her own. She told him about losing Michael, about how every room in her apartment still felt shaped around a man who no longer lived there. About how dates felt like lies because she was afraid of letting her heart remember how to hope. Lily woke up halfway through, quietly coloring while leaning against Emily's side, as if she had always belonged there. The date didn't end in romance. It didn't end in dramatic confessions. It ended in something far more rare, three people finally breathing again. When it was time to leave, Lily squeezed Emily's hand and whispered, "Please come back." And for the first time in 2 years, Emily didn't have to think before answering. "I will." Not because she was ready for love, but because for the first time in a long time, something in her heart didn't feel broken, it felt needed. And sometimes, that's where healing begins. If you want an extended cinematic sequel where the story continues, just say continue and I'll write the next chapter.